If you're into coal mining history, I promise you're not going to want to miss this one. Looking at this area today, you wouldn't think much of it, but hiding back there is not one, not two, not three, but 7 items related to coal mining history, and we're going to try to find them. This accidental finding turned into an anthracite investigation, and I'm standing on part of the evidence right here. And what I'm going to be doing is something I've never attempted before. If you want to see what I stumbled upon, all you need to do is come along with me. Now you may be wondering, how did I find this location? Well, I accidentally stumbled upon it just by going for a bike ride. I took a random trail, wound up right here on this coal waste pile. Immediately knew coal mining activity took place back here. Back there by the tree line though, is a trail. And just a short ways in on the trail, I came upon my first ruins remains of something that used to exist a long time ago. So that told me there was something going on here more than just a waste pile and coal mining activity. I knew I wanted to investigate further, but I didn't know where to start, where to begin. So I reached out to my friend Chris of the Underground Miners. I sent him a pin to this location, asking if he knew anything. A short while later, he got back to me with a few company names and basically pointed me in the right direction. And I did a lot more research beyond that and found more than I was expecting. Turned out to be a rather fascinating discovery. And well, check out for yourself what I found. All right, we're going to jump on the computer here. It's going to be a lot easier to lay things out, show you what's going on, and give you a better idea as to what we're going to be looking at. So this is a Google Earth aerial view. Now the area we're going to be focusing on today, where we start the video, is right here. This is a coal waste pile right along the bank of the Lackawanna River. The other area though, even though we're not physically going there, but is of importance, is this area right here, this cleared piece of land with some old trails going through it. This also played a part in what was going on over here. So a couple of things I want to show you first off is that, well, this is reclaimed land today. Mine reclamation took place. And over here, as we come closer, we're going to be able to see a few things going on. We got this smaller coal waste pile and some trail systems going through. Up here is the Lackawanna River Heritage Trail, which was the former New York, Ontario, and Western Railroad. But if we come down a little bit closer and you look through here, you can see a little tiny square dark image. That's building ruins. That's what I initially found because I stumbled upon this, ventured in on the trail, and shortly came upon some ruins. That's what sparked this investigation. Once I saw that, I really had to find out what was going on back here. I had no idea what it could have been, but the telltale sign was the waste pile, coal pile here, which tells me mine workings. So this little ruin site is what sparked this anthracite investigation. Now here on the Mine Maps website, we have the same location. So here is the waste pile, trail system going through. Over here was the breaker site. So this area, as I bring it into view, was originally known as the Mount Jessup Coal Company. So some maps have it labeled as Mount Jessup Coal Company, others as Riverside. It was a former coal mining company that became bankrupt in 1925. At one point, it was known as the Riverside Coal Company or Riverside Colliery, which bordered the Pompeii breaker site. So the clear boundary right here is right where this line is. So the area we're going to be focusing on is partially on Riverside, partially on Pompeii. But Pompeii is basically from here all the way over. Now these mine companies border each other, and likely through a leasee at some point the Pompeii breaker was used to process the workings from Mount Jessup, as the Pompeii breaker also processed coal brought in via train cars from other local mines. So now that we know what was going on, we know the Pompeii breaker is located here. Where was it located exactly? We know it was this area. Well, this map is going to show us. Right here, Pompeii breaker, the squared off building, was located right on that piece of land. Now these lines here, well, those are rails. And as you can see, this one labeled here, Erie Railroad. Now, before we go any further, I do want to show you on the Underground Miners website which will be linked down below in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. They have a page dedicated to the Pompeii breaker. This is what it looked like when it was in operation. So the rails are there right next to it, and there's a little readout which I'll read it to you. It says the Pompeii breaker is located in Jessup, Pennsylvania along the Erie Railroad. Now I do have some conflicting thoughts about that, which I will share in a moment, but it says the breaker was built and put into production in 1932 and processed coal from the Sterrick Creek mines in Archibald, as well as a slope located on the property. So coal came in from multiple different mines to this breaker. Underground workings at the site ceased in 1946, and at this point the mine run coal that was processed at the breaker by incoming rail cars and trucks from the nearby stripping operations. In 1968, the breaker shut down, and the coal piles and banks at the site were processed at the nearby Waddell breaker. The breaker burned down in March of 1970. Again, I encourage you to come to the site. There's other pictures here you can check out and read up more information about it. Now, coming back here, breaker's located there, rails are there. So if we do bring this in and out of view, I do want to bring you over to the Rail Guide app. This is the desktop version. We're looking at the same location here, aerial view, and as I bring the maps in, we could see exactly where they were. Now, here's where things are a bit conflicting. We know the Erie Railroad is right here. It did service this area, but the tracks that ran right next to the breaker was the DL&W, Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western. So I think it's more than just the Erie that serviced it. Not a big factor, but just something to point out is that it was most likely more than one rail company servicing this site. So we have the rails here. Erie came across, connected up. And as we go over to the site where we're going to be, Erie met up with which is today, Delaware Lackawanna, but this was the old Delaware and Hudson Railroad. And we already know up here, the modern day rail trail was New York, Ontario, and Western. So a lot of different rail companies going on back here in the day, all intersecting each other, and just a lot to really imagine what's going on today. But as we bring it back into view, if we go to current, we can see it's just modern day single track Delaware Lackawanna. Now going back to the Mount Jessup Coal Company, I did find an article about a disaster. It says Mount Jessup Coal Company Limited, Mount Jessup No. 1 mine roof fall disaster, located at Jessup, Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania on December 8th, 1923, which was 102 years ago. Number of people killed was 5. And for the details, it says the cave-in occurred on Saturday afternoon is what is known as the grassy vein of No. 1 mine, where 30 men were robbing pillars. Robbing pillars is basically taking the support pillars, which are often made completely out of coal, and they take that coal for processing, but that takes away the structural integrity of the roof or the back or the top, whatever word you want to use. And it makes it really susceptible to collapse or subsidence. It says 4 men working in another section, and the mine foreman who tried to warn them were trapped inside the mine, and that's the names and ages of the deceased individuals. Okay, we're back here, present day of the area we're going to be exploring. But let's look back at this area when it was in operation. We have a map image from 1939, and we know this is the area because, for one, the river's coming down, going at an angle, rails are right here. That's basically what we have going on. River coming down, going at an angle, tracks right here. So this location is, wrong image, this location right here. So the coal pile that's here today was much larger back in the day. And if you look, it looks like a conveyor system was piling the coal up, or the waste, into the large mounds that used to exist around different sites. But the area, though, that we're looking at is right here. So you can see there's numerous buildings and some roads or trails, but more likely roads, going through the property, through the different areas here. So waste pile here, trail to road, numerous buildings. This is 1939. Things were in operation. So waste being built up there, buildings being used actively, rails right there, Erie line right there, and then we have the Pompeii breaker site, which is in full operation. So tracks coming next to it, loaded and empty coal cars. A lot going on in 1939. Let's jump ahead to 1949. 1949, things have changed. Same area right here, and you can see the roads are not really as prevalent as they once were. Nature is starting to reclaim. Buildings are still there, just harder to see. But if we come over to this waste pile, that conveyor system is gone. That tells me that operations have ceased on this part of the land. But Pompeii breaker still operating, big mounds of waste material, still going strong in 1949. Jump ahead one more decade to 1959. Well, there's just some faint trails now. The buildings may or may not even be there. Coal pile has changed a little bit, and Pompeii breaker site is still operational in 1959. And this is when coal is being brought in from other local mines to be processed at this particular breaker. So this is where things get really interesting. I pull up two different maps of this area. Waste pile, trail, building ruins right there. Well, I'm going to bring this first map into view. And look what we have. We have a full layout of what used to exist, including that building right there. So if you keep your eye on that square, that's the building ruins right there for that particular building. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buildings that existed at one time. Now it is showing upside down because of the layout of the geography, but I did crop the image, spin it around, and we have a clear readout. So that first building, the ruins I spotted, was located and listed as a shop. Coming further back, engine house. This building is listed as pocket, which I'm not sure what that is. Furthest away building was an office. Coming up, another engine house. Over here, small building labeled as powder house. That's going to be for TNT or dynamite storage. And then right here in the middle, mule barn. So that's of interest because, well, mules were often used in the mines for pulling the loaded coal cars. Now there is one more map I want to show you. Same location, we haven't moved. I bring it into view. This one shows more of the underground workings, all the buildings, and a few more details. So let me flip this image around. So again, everything's labeled. But if you look here by the mule barn, it says trap door. Most likely it was a door for entering into the mines. So they kept the mules most likely topside above the surface, but had a entryway or trap door down into the mines. Also, this right here, this channel, that is a drift or a slope, is labeled as the number 1 slope. And that's basically entrance into the mines. So if we go back, we could see that slope's right here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you. And once I finish processing, we'll be able to put a line on that. And that's going to show you basically where it is in modern day. So keep your eye on that line. And as you go back to Earth view, this tip of the line is going to be where the mine entrance would have been. That's an area we could go to focus on to see if indeed anything is still there existing today. Now I can tell you though, this area up here is elevated. This area down here is lower. So there is an embankment here. So most likely it went into an embankment. But this is going to be an area of interest that we could focus on. Now one more thing we could do to make it easier is see how far away these are. So I'm going to clear this. I'll get rid of that. So we go from the shop to the engine house. That's going to be roughly 300 feet. And from there, we have a shorter distance to pocket. So those three are kind of in a straight line almost. Come over here to office. Then we have engine house, powder house, mule barn, and then back to the shop. So that is roughly 1,260 feet of distance to cover to get to all the buildings. Now, the great thing is I could take this map away. The lines are still there. That's where these buildings are going to be located in present day. So we have everything that we need to find, for the most part, following this. So once we do head to that shop area, which is going to be our first target, we're going to be going in a straight line to find target number 2, 3, then 4, I think 5, 6, and then 7 over here, if I remember correctly. Yes. Now I know that is a lot of information, but it's a lot easier to show it to you this way rather than going through on site, trying to explain it, trying to show maps overlaying the footage. I want to bring it to you all in one clip, and you can always go back in the video to kind of recap what we covered already. But we know we're going to be looking for the ruins here. Breaker was located here. Rails ran throughout. And once we find this first building, straight shot, up, straight shot, and then back down. And then somewhere over here may or may not be the old entrance to the mine. So let's get back on site and start exploring. Welcome back. So what we're looking at is the location of the Pompeii breaker. It'd be somewhere over in that direction. And as you saw, there was a conveyor system somewhere down here near the river that helped form this coal and waste pile, which is just a fraction of the size it used to be. It extended much further. Obviously, a lot of it got reclaimed with this power line pole. But this is solid evidence of what used to exist. So beyond this, we're gonna retrace my steps that I did on the bike and go to our first ruins and remains. But beyond that, I'm gonna use the map images that I showed you with the red lines to help locate and find, hopefully, all 7 structures. Leaving the waste pile system, river's down to our right, Delaware-Lackawanna tracks are down there, and Ontario and Western tracks are over in that direction, maybe 100 yards or so. And we're on the trail, and right in front of us is what helped me dive into this investigation a bit further. And here we are. Now, I'm not expecting to find any full, complete, intact structures. What we're gonna be seeking out to find is things like this. And it looks like someone's attempting to make a type of shelter out of this location. So we can see there's 2 structures right next to each other. Obviously it just shows up as one on the map, but they were really close in size and proximity. So they just labeled it as one structure. So we see concrete, piping, probably a combination of rebar and anchor bolts right here. Not very big. That one's like a perfect square. This one's more rectangle shaped. And there was a pipe mounted on top of here, which expelled down here. Now look at this curved piece of concrete laying here. I think that was probably laying on top of that, covering that up. It broke off and it looks like it's just laying there. Some nice nature's carpet growing here. 4 posts, and then both sides of the concrete have posts coming out. You actually walk right inside of this one. Difference in height too. That one's obviously higher. Not a whole lot left, but something's left. Tells us that activity was taking place back here. And if it wasn't for the map system, I wouldn't know what I was looking at. But now we can confirm we found structure location number 1 as the shop, and we could check it off. Now, during the research part, I did mention that we are up on an elevation. There's an embankment to my right, and down there is where we could potentially find where the old portal or adit or slope used to be. We're gonna save that for later, but according to the map images, we need to walk primarily in a straight line to get to building location number 2, which I believe is the engine house. Now the trail goes off to the left, and where we need to go is straight, but I do know there's a junction up here with this trail. So if we come up here, hang right, we should be close to our next location. All right, so we just came from that direction. The shop is up there. We hung the right coming down an embankment here, and look ahead of us. We have, I think, location number 2. And if this is the correct one, this should be an engine house. Red line, green dots, map area here. So we can see the trail system we just walked and how it curves down this way. And the next dot is right past the curvature, which brings us right here. So I'm pretty confident this is one of the engine houses. Not a big building by any means, just big enough to hold possibly a steam engine. Based on the time frame of the operation, I'm guessing it would have been steam. So it's just a concrete perimeter, more piping, some rebar or anchor bolts coming out. As far as anything else, it's long gone. Just some trash in here, a lot of debris, a full-size tree growing right out of it. Now what I am wondering is, are all these left behind? Are we gonna find all 7 structures? I'm hopeful, because we're 2 for 2 right now. But I do wonder, like, why didn't they remove it altogether? Was this concrete just too hard and thick and not worth the effort to ruin the equipment or machinery or dynamite, whatever they were using? A lot of unknown questions, but regardless, I'm glad there's still something left behind, remembering, keeping history alive of what was going on back here, because today it's just a section of woods with some random waste piles and foundations like this. So if I go back to my map, so I said 3 in a row. This is number 2. Third one should be behind us. And the third one should be known as Pocket. I didn't know what that was, still don't know what it is, but it's another building. And this one actually shows up smaller compared to the shop. Shop looks like a larger structure, even though there's 2 buildings there, 2 foundations. This shows up smaller. Pocket should be slightly bigger than this. If they're drawn to scale, they might not be. But regardless, behind us should be our next target. Now, the only downfall with this operation that I'm doing, this investigation, is I don't have GPS coordinates. As far as I know, there's no way to take the map website and when you show the structures with the overlay to get GPS coordinates. If there is a way to do it, feel free to let me know. As far as I know though, there's not. So the best thing I could do is obviously make those red lines with the dots for each structure. And we came the right time of year, foliage is down, so I'm feeling pretty hopeful. I think we're gonna find at least 6 out of 7, if not 7 out of 7. But after we find or don't find all 7, we're gonna head down here around the embankment to find the entrance of that slope. But then I have a bonus location we're gonna go to on the other side of the river a little bit later. So down this little slope to the left is the engine house, climbed up the hill here, and it's a completely different landscape up here. A lot of rocks, a lot of nature's carpet, and evidence that people have been here as well. Now it looks like someone was camping here. And they left without their shoes. Reeboks. Size 8.5. That's definitely much too small for me. There's a sock there. Tent stakes. Looks like it's been here for a few months. Oh, there's even a lunch bag here. They made a little wind barrier. Oh, look at someone's e-bike. No, that's just mine. I rode it here and locked it up. Insulated cooler bag. Can of Goya, looks like beans. There's some Pringles. But the Pocket building should be up here somewhere. Not terribly far away from the engine house. And you know what? There's some items up here. Now here's some cut wood right here. Probably not related to that, but worth pointing out. Okay, so far I'm not seeing anything that resembles a building or a ruin or a foundation. You know what? There's actually a bicycle down there. There's a big ravine down here. There's a bicycle down there. I gotta look on my GPS and see where I'm at in relation. Maybe this will help me out a bit. Yeah, so looking on the red line map I created with the teal dots, this should be much closer to that than the engine house is to the shop. It's not far at all, and it's almost in a straight line. So if it's gonna be up here, we should come upon it. It's not down there, it's not back there. Okay, engine house is right there, I can see that. This should be, if I look at it, almost directly behind it. It should be over here somewhere. I don't even know where the camera is. I can't even see you guys. Did I lose you guys? I lost you guys. Where are you? I know you can hear me. I don't. Oh, you're all the way over there. Yeah, so engine house I found, it should be over here somewhere. Not far past it. Not having any luck. So again, engine house is right there. It should be right over here, pretty much where we're walking. And I don't know if this area was reclaimed or not, or modified or altered at any point after the closure of this mine, at least over here. All right, maybe I was looking in the wrong area. There's a small chance of that. But I still think it would have been back there. But I did find something else. So on the other side of this little mound here is the engine house. And right in front of us here is a trench lined with stone. I noticed that, but then I noticed something over here. More stonework, another trench. Now this doesn't resemble a building, but this was indeed created by man. I'm not certain what this is. Nicely constructed though. So this one's kind of diagonal to that one, that trench line made out of stone, and the engine house is over there. Maybe there would have been water lines through here. This is like a protective barrier for it. Possible. They are in the proximity of the engine house. I am bummed though. I thought for certain we're gonna find location number 3. I'm gonna give it one final search and then we're gonna move on. Yeah, here's that ravine. There's a bicycle down there, like I mentioned. A lot of random stones, but nothing solid. And so far, the 2 items we did find were made out of concrete. Maybe this was not made out of concrete. Maybe it was made out of stone or blocks. And we just aren't recognizing it because it blends in with all the other rocks and stones here. It's a possibility. When it comes to history, can't rule anything out. But my hunch, based on the proximity so far of the first 2 locations, is that it should be somewhere back here. And there's just nothing. I scouted around for a good 10 minutes. Scale down here now, we have a rock face with a little hole right there. I'm gonna see if I can get up to that. Now this does resemble a pocket, like a corner, but it is nothing more than just a ravine, low-lying area. So up there is like the rocky, mossy landscape, and we have a big pile right in front of us, but I don't know what this is created for unless they maybe excavated it out. No, it only goes in maybe a foot. Just a little tiny cavity. Doesn't open up to anything. Okay, which one of you left your bicycle down here? You know you can't be doing that. But it looks like it was abused, ridden hard, and left for dead. Unfortunately, we are 2 for 3. Did not find the pocket. Need to climb up out of here and head almost directly over from where the pocket steam house or engine house would have been, and may or may not find the office. I'm a little bummed right now. I wish there was a way to have GPS coordinates with that, and there may be a way. I'm not super skilled on that mining website. I know how to find the maps, use a slider, measure the distances, but I couldn't find a way to get GPS. It would make my life a lot easier. But I'm still having a great time. It's still a great investigation. We're not skunking out by any means. And I have confidence we're going to find more than what we found already. So it looks like if we get back on this main trail here, which is heading towards the O&W, the office building should be somewhere over here, because the trail that we're walking on still shows up on the overlay of the maps. So it does help pinpoint a little bit. And another thing I thought of, although I couldn't get GPS coordinates for these locations, I could have used the measuring tool. Although I did measure out the circumference, I could have measured from building to building and brought that with me and could have approximated how many footsteps it would be to that next building. So that could have been something I could have done. But being this is my first time, I didn't think it all the way through. I thought I crossed all my T's, dotted the I's, but I definitely have room to improve. But regardless, I'm making it work with what I have. Literally right down there is the Heritage Trail. Now these debris piles are going to make it that much harder to find anything like a foundation. Don't see anything there. The only other area I can think of is over here, which is around this bend in front of us. So this office building does show up in close proximity to the rails, but I think I was too close. I'm looking at myself on Google Maps, and I could see like the bend of the trail, and I know the structure, from what I could tell, is to the left of that bend. So I think I'm in the right area now. So far, not seeing anything solid. A lot of little mounds. And I think the next structure we have is the powder shed, dynamite storage, which is going to be kind of straight to this, but in further away from the rails. So we still need to go this direction regardless. But right now it's looking like 2 for 4 with results. I was certain we were going to find something for each item. But so much time has gone by though, and we don't know what took place back here over the many decades. Oh, wait. This is like a sinkhole. Oh, that's a good size one. It's probably about 6-8 feet down from the surface. I thought this was a foundation at first, like a sunken in foundation. And proximity, those stone canals or channels are right over there. So that's where we are. I wonder if that is a subsidence. Appears to be. We do have a lot of waste piles back here. No shortage of those. But the office, as far as I could tell, either is completely gone or I'm in the wrong area, but I feel more confident that we are in the right area now. And there's no concrete walls or foundations or anything resembling what we found already. Yeah, there's the rock cut of the rail trail down there. So we know 100% we're in the area. You can almost smell it if there was a smell to it. I'm determined, I'm stubborn. I'm gonna give this area one more scour before we move on. And if I find absolutely nothing, we have no choice but to continue in this direction, looking for the powder shed. Office, cannot find anything for it. So we're officially 2 for 4 with our investigation. I did make an error though. We're not looking for the powder house or powder shed next. Next is the engine house, the secondary engine house. Since we found the first one, we do know what we're looking for. So we're going to be paralleling the rails, but coming in a little bit. And we're going to look out for some piping, some concrete, and anything resembling that. This area looks heavily modified though. I think that's why we're not finding these additional structures. This area looks like some earth was moved. Like we have a waste pile there. There's some logs piled up in different areas. So time is against us. I walked back over to the O&W here, Heritage Trail, and just wanted to kind of scan the landscape because as of right now, I'm not finding this engine house either. And visibility is much better over here than the other areas. I could see a good distance. This is like the other one that we saw where the bicycle's down there, except this one's not as big. I'll have to say, nature is getting the best of me because if those items are out here, they're being camouflaged very well. May have found a clue. We do have some, looks like cinder blocks here. This looks like building material. It's like it's mortared together concrete. And I believe this is the vicinity of the powder house, which would be a small structure. Just a little tiny concrete or cinder block, possibly steel elements structure for containing the explosives built out of non-flammable materials. So this is all I found so far. We're further past where the engine house would have been. And this is proximity. Yeah, so the O&W is down there. Engine house would have been over there. I would say I'm about 80-20. This is remains of the powder house. Nothing more substantial. I would expect to find more than just a handful of pieces, but something's better than nothing. So I guess I'll count this. This will be, I think, 3 for 6. So let's see, we found the shop, found the engine house, and we found, I believe, the powder house. So that's 3, but we didn't find the pocket, office, or secondary engine house. So the only thing that's left is the mule barn. And that's between this and the shop. And it looks like it's kind of halfway in between. So what I'm going to do is get back over to the shop location and walk behind it at an angle. I think we'll have a better chance of finding it coming directly behind the shop. All right, we're back at the shop. location number 1. We know that for a fact, and we want to come behind it. Now, just to show you this landscape here, it's hard to see on camera, but there's just mounds everywhere. All different shapes and sizes of mounds. Material that has been excavated or worked or brought up from under the surface. So that's why I said it makes it more difficult to do this, because you can't see everything. Off camera, I was studying the maps for the mule barn. And the one thing that's showing up that I can show you is the location of the mule barn with the earth overlay shows a dark oval shaped impression on the image. I believe that is that secondary ravine that I showed you, where I said it's not as big, but it's there. It looks like at the top of it, where it would enter into it, is the location of the mule barn. And if you remember on the map I showed you earlier during the research, it said there was a trap door. Now that's going down several feet down a slope, and there may have been a type of door there to enter into the mines. Can't rule that out. And based on the location and proximity, I think there's a good likelihood that that is why that ravine exists. Have another subsidence here. Again, goes down roughly 8 to 10 feet. And you don't know if that's the true bottom or not. Now here's some material. Someone could have brought this here. Looks like they made a jump out of it. So I can't say this is natural, but it does lead right to this ravine. And most likely this mule barn would have been constructed out of wood. From where I'm standing, it's probably 12 to 15 feet lower, and it may have been a slope entrance going into the drift or this underground slope at one time for the mules. So they could have come up here topside to, for their break or for feeding, and then they could enter in and out of the mine right through here. That seems like the best likelihood. So up here though, there's nothing more than just some stones and a piece of log there. So I'm not expecting to find a foundation or anything, because again, most likely would have been constructed out of wood. But I'm about 90% certain that that mule barn was somewhere right around here, and that most likely that trap door on the map was down here. So if we do count that without seeing any physical evidence, that would bring us to 4 out of 7 findings. That's more than half. Now there's always a chance I'm incorrect, but all the signs are pointing to it. It would explain why this is here, this ravine. The location is between the shop and the powder house, about halfway. And if it was made out of wood from so long ago, we're not going to find anything left behind. It's a nice fall day here too. Four out of 7 odds, that's not too bad. But our investigation's not over yet. We have one more item, and that is the entrance of the number 2 slope. We know it's down the embankment, below the engine house area, and it would be coming into where we are, which is an elevated area, which would make sense, again, with that ravine going down to meet up with that mine. I don't know if there's anything left over here at all. Most likely it's sealed up, and if it is, it may even be unrecognizable. But we're gonna give it a good look. We know what we're looking for. We know the approximate location, so if it's there, something resembling it, we're gonna find it. Engine house. Coming down, we're gonna hang a right. And this is gonna be the area below most of those buildings, like the shop, mule barn, powder house, office, They're all up on top of there. This is the embankment. Now, if this area was modified, there's a good chance it could have been down lower and buried. What I'm looking for is basically any artificial walls of stone, brick, cinder block, or even a mound of earth. There's a big rocky overhang up there, and looks like it's going down. Let's inspect that. But oh, look at this patch of nature's carpet. It's too nice not to show. That is some quality stuff right there. Okay, this is the most likeliest spot of the mine entrance, and there's telltale signs. I believe we found it. Yep, we found it. This is the number 2 slope, and like I suspected, it's filled in. And there's some, almost looks like hieroglyphics here, or etchings. Let me come and get you. I'll show you what it looks like. Let me just lay things out for you so you understand where we are. Past this patch of land here is the Lackawanna River. It comes down on our right and angles over. On the other side of the river are the railroad tracks for Delaware Lackawanna, which is the old D&H. And then in the distance over there would have been the Pompey Breaker. So that's where we are in relation to those things. We already know up on top of here is where our investigation was taking place. The shop area would be over there, engine house over there, and everything else further back between here and the O&W. Now, I did remember seeing another one, I think it was number 1 slope somewhere over there, but I don't think it's going to be as easy to find as this one. So it's a slope, which means it's going downhill, and that's why we can't see anything straight ahead of us. It'd be going down at a pretty good angle. And this is all backfilled here. And you can always pretty much see where it would have continued going down at an angle. So following this top of the rock would have been the top of the mine, or the back. When you're hunched over, it's known as your back. Some fracturing here too. Now, if you were to dig, excavate this out, obviously you're going to continue in. But what my friend Chris told me is that most likely you're going to hit the water table not too far in, because obviously the Lackawanna River is over there, not too far below us. So the water table in this area is going to be pretty low, I should say pretty high. So you wouldn't be able to get in all that far. Also looks like some, I forget the name that I'm thinking of here. Looks like a fossil, is that it? Like a piece of wood was against there or something. I don't feel any air, obviously. I don't smell anything, although my nose is running. But from all the mine history we've covered, both active, abandoned, and non-existent, we know what we're looking at here. Again, some rather unique etchings there. But we're not done though. We have one more location we're going to go to. It's not mining related, it's railroad related. And since the rails in this area played an important part in the transportation of the coal, I felt it'd be worth checking out. So I'll see you over there. Welcome back to a new but familiar area. So in case you're wondering where we are, well, directly over there is the Culm waste pile, where we started today's video, right over there. And we're exploring, investigating all that back area. Directly in front of us, about 30 yards ahead, is the Lackawanna River. And to our right is the Delaware Lackawanna Railroad. And what I want to show you is right through the tree line here, which has water flowing through it. Oh, this rock is moving. And this is what I wanted to show you. A pretty cool looking but small train bridge serving as a culvert. We're gonna be able to get up close to it. And I found it rather fascinating because it looks like modern construction, but it has like an older design to it, if that makes sense. So here we are. As far as I can tell, it's a pretty modern train bridge, and it's made out of concrete and steel and rails, narrow or miniature scale rails. I do like how though it's inset and there's the curved tunnel going through it. Warmer months, maybe we'll go through this, but there's a few things we could check out all around it though. See what I see? Upside down, small scale rail. I don't know what gauge that would be or what scale. It's like what mine cars would roll on. And looks like possibly some conduit coming through it. Tell you what, this is built almost like a mine adit or a portal. You can also see the indentations and the places where the wood was laid against it for the forming of the concrete. So this was formed out of wood. They poured the concrete inside of it, stuck rails inside like rebar for structural integrity. And you have to remember, back in the day, there was multiple rails coming through this area as the Delaware Hudson. And we know the Erie met up with here and is serviced the breaker, which, let's see orientation where we are here. The breaker would have been right up there. So there's a good likelihood that trains came over this part of it here, or somewhere close to it, because there was multiple lines running through it. And you may be wondering why we're not going over to the breaker site. Well, that's why. That power line pole system erased anything of existence over there. It's completely gone. So we'd be lucky if we found a piece of concrete or steel. Now here's where the water's flowing in, and this has been revamped. This is actually pretty neat over here. This is interesting. This is older construction, and this is a man-made channel with concrete and stone. It's basically erosion control. We need to get down there. This is much different than the other side we just checked out. I'm looking for a date. I don't see one. This is primarily stone. Looks like, from what I can tell from here, about 3/4 of the way through is a transition from stone to concrete like we saw on the other side. So I'm guessing at one time, that area, that other side was maybe not holding up as well, it was maybe crumbling, and they had to rebuild it with modern day elements, including steel, concrete, and even small pieces of rail. So I don't know when that work was done. That could have been done decades ago, but it looks like brand new work. Water is a few feet deep here too. It's a nice little wading pool, probably about waist deep. And I see rocks all the way through. If you guys want to see me return in the summer and walk through this and document it more, let me know. I'd be glad to do it. I'm probably going to do it anyways, but if you want to see it on camera, let me know in the comment section. But no surprise I'm drawn to this. Water, culvert, train tracks on top. But just to think back in the day, 1930s, 1940s, it was a completely different location here. A lot going on, multiple rails, trains coming and going daily, loaded, unloaded coal cars, a big breaker over here, colliery ruins on the other side that we investigated, underground catacomb of underground workings extracting anthracite coal. And today, it's just part of my investigation as we document more anthracite history here in Pennsylvania. You can almost see here where the new meets the old. And they had some massive creosote timbers here, bolted together, just like we see right here. And all these indentations here were post-war. Maybe the ones laying here, maybe for the forms of the concrete, but that's what we're looking at down there. That's all the forms of the concrete. And we have more rail here. This one's the right orientation. You can see not really that big at all. Most likely what you would see underground for the mine cars, the coal cars to roll on. Tell you what, that water is nice and clear. I absolutely love the arch. So looking up, steel beams and wood. So I believe at one time trains may have rolled over the top portion of this as well, even though it doesn't look like it today. But I'm wondering when this was refinished. It doesn't look old at all. But for the fact that they used this small gauge rail, makes you wonder. This could have been done 40, 50 years ago. Who knows? Looks like a new outer coating put on too. Remember kids, if you come across this, it's not milk duds. Don't eat it. And the water flowing underneath that bridge comes down right here and joins up with the Lackawanna. Just to think of the day though, take away all these trees, big comb piles over there and a breaker, lots of railroad tracks, trains coming and going, and over here, more massive comb piles. The only thing that's really still the same is the river. Oh, we're about 3.5 hours into this investigation, and sun's going down. Got about an hour of sunlight left. I do want to mention a few things. Number one is that this is out of my norm, as many of you know. Typically when I go film locations and I find stuff in that moment, I'm just kind of guessing, speculating what it could be. Like, oh, look at this, wonder what it could be, wonder what it was. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what a lot of people do. That's what I've done for the longest time. But more often than not, when I go home, I'll do research to try to find out what it was. Same thing with a recent Google Maps investigation. I found a body of water, thinking it was just a retention pond, not knowing it was a reservoir from long, long ago on mining grounds. So that was post-filming research, where this one was pre-filming research. I found the location, did my research, and then came here to do our investigation. And without that research, it would have been a shot in the dark to find anything. So with that being said, if you did enjoy this format of me doing the research, showing you the research, and then bringing it to you before we actually investigate, I could do it again in the future. I'm not going to do it for every location. It is a lot of work on my end, but I feel it does pay off in the end. I'm sure many of you can agree, it's much more enjoyable to watch something and to learn what it exactly was, why it was there, when it was there, what its purpose was. It answers a lot more questions, and it fills in that curiosity need that many of us do have. So in my eyes, it's worth the effort for me to do all that extra work. I'm by no means a proficient researcher. I'm not a historian. I basically learn as I go. I get help from friends, get help from tutorials on YouTube, and each and every time I learn a little bit more, and I am able to apply it to my videos and share it with all of you. But there's still gonna be a lot of videos where I do go out and film and find things in that moment and not know what they are and try to figure it out on the spot. But if you did enjoy this particular format, definitely want your feedback. If and indeed I could have a way to have GPS coordinates for the mine overlays, it'll make my job a hell of a lot easier. If I'm not able to do that or it's not possible, I could still use the measurement tool instead of measuring the whole layout of the buildings, the circumference, I could just do building to building, get that foot length and walk it on foot. It should bring me pretty close to those locations. Even if that doesn't work, I still feel what we did today was an accomplishment. You know, we captured and documented 5 out of 8 locations. For doing this for my very first time, that's pretty good odds. I was hoping for 6 out of 7 or 7 out of 7, but I'm not going to complain. This was my first time doing it, and I was kind of learning as I go. But would love to hear your thoughts on anything you've seen in this video, whether it be the train bridge over here, if you want to see that in the future, or what we did find and document or maybe missed, and you have a way for me to kind of come back and find those things with greater detail and accuracy. Any input does help, and you guys know I listen to your input. So many times I've asked for your input, and I've applied it either in a particular video or just as a whole on my channel. So your input is invaluable. I definitely listen to it. I can't do everything that's given to me or told to me, but if it does fit and apply, I definitely use it, and thank you guys for doing so. So thanks for taking the time out of your day for joining me for today's Anthracite Investigation as we documented the colliery ruins of the Pompeii and Riverside / Mount Jessup Colliery / coal mining company. I had a great time doing it. Hopefully enjoyed coming along. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.